Hello friends from the US, Europe, and around the world. My name is Nguyễn Văn Tưởng, I'm 36 years old, and I'm originally from Hưng Yên province in Vietnam. Today, I want to share a personal reflection, a story about a change within myself that I think many of us experience as we navigate life, the realization that winning an argument isn't always the real victory. Please excuse my spoken English ability, it's not perfect, so I'm using this synthesized voice to help ensure my story is delivered as clearly as possible. I hope you'll understand the meaning I wish to convey. There was a time, not too long ago, perhaps in my late 20s, when I saw conversations, discussions, even disagreements, as intellectual battlegrounds. I thrived on debate, being right, proving my point, dismantling the opposition's logic, that felt like winning. It wasn't just about the topic, it was about affirming my own intelligence, my own standing. I remember preparing for meetings or even casual get-togethers like a general planning a campaign, anticipating counter-arguments, honing my rhetorical weapons. The adrenaline rush of a heated discussion was, quite frankly, addictive. I recall one specific incident quite vividly. It was during a team project at work, a high-stakes assignment with a tight deadline. We hit a snag, and there were two distinct approaches we could take. I was utterly convinced my way was superior, faster, more efficient, technically sounder. A senior colleague, someone I respected but also felt a competitive urge towards, proposed the alternative. The ensuing debate became intense. Driven by my need to win, I didn't just present my points, I systematically tore down his. I used sharp logic, pointed out flaws perhaps a bit too aggressively, and didn't let up until he essentially conceded, more out of exhaustion than conviction, I suspect now. The climax? Our team adopted my approach. I felt a surge of triumph. I was right. My intellect had prevailed, but that victory felt strangely hollow almost immediately. The project moved forward, but the atmosphere in the team shifted. My senior colleague became distant, his usual collaborative spirit replaced by a professional coolness. The easy camaraderie we had was gone, replaced by a subtle, uncomfortable tension. We completed the project successfully, but the cost was a fractured relationship and a less pleasant work environment. I had won the argument, but I had clearly lost something more valuable. The suspense wasn't in the project's outcome anymore, but in the chilling realization of the relational damage I'd inflicted. That incident, along with others like it, planted a seed of doubt. Was being right always the most important thing? Over the following years, through more experiences, arguments with friends that left lingering awkwardness, family disagreements during holidays that soured the mood, observing the sheer exhaustion and pointlessness of many online debates, that seed began to grow. I started noticing the toll these conflicts took, the stress they generated, the relationships they strained. I began to understand that people hold different views for complex reasons tied to their own lives, and trying to force my perspective rarely led to genuine change, only resentment. The real turning point, the internal climax of this shift, came more recently. I was in a discussion with a friend about a sensitive topic. We had fundamentally different viewpoints. The old Tuong would have jumped in immediately, armed with facts and figures, ready for battle. I felt the familiar urge rising, the desire to correct, to debate, to win. But this time, something was different. I paused. I listened, truly listened, to my friend's perspective, trying to understand why they felt that way, even though I disagreed. Instead of launching a counterattack, I simply acknowledged their viewpoint. I said something like, "I see why you feel that way, even though I have a different perspective based on my experiences." We talked around the issue, finding common ground elsewhere. There was no winner or loser declared. The surprise wasn't in the conversation's content, but in my own reaction, or lack thereof. And what I felt afterward wasn't the hollowness of a costly victory, but a quiet sense of peace. We left the conversation with our friendship intact, perhaps even strengthened by the mutual respect shown. Now, at 36, I understand much more clearly. It's not that truth doesn't matter, or that critical thinking isn't important. It's that the need to win arguments, to prove oneself right at all costs, fades in importance compared to other things. As the text you provided suggested, maturity often brings a shift in priorities. I value my inner peace more. I value harmonious relationships more. I recognize the futility of pouring energy into conflicts that yield no real benefit, only stress. I understand that accepting differences is often wiser than trying to erase them. This journey, from valuing the win to valuing the peace, is a personal one, but I suspect it's quite universal. It's about realizing that sometimes, the greatest strength isn't in having the last word, but in choosing silence, understanding, or simply letting go for the sake of something more important. And that, for me, has been one of the most valuable lessons learned on the path to becoming a little older, and hopefully, a little wiser. That's the perspective I wanted to share today.